doing that, I was face to face with it. It was holding me by my throat, and it felt like it was sucking something out of me.
I probably should have been more scared than I was when I witnessed the exorcism.
I turned and looked on my right side. When I did, there's a beam on the side of the tree, a large beam. It's looking at me and I'm looking at it.
After I hit the lock button and looked back up, I saw red eyes staring back at me.
That they're going to show multiple gods all over the earth, be able to speak in people's languages, and at that point, it kind of converge into this one entity, which will be revealed as extraterrestrial. You'll realize that aliens are the gods of old, and at that point, it'll wipe religion out of the context of humanity.
No, it couldn't have been a person, I know that. I know that people can't run through the woods like that.
So this thing comes into view, and I see it. It's 50 yards away from me. It's walking on two legs. It's huge. This is a big, hairy-looking being.
Welcome. I'm your host, and this is uNcomfortable.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Eric Szilagyi. If you've got an uncomfortable experience and you'd like to have it featured on the show, please get a hold of me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com. Please make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, both at Uncomfortable Podcast 65. Most importantly, please share the show with others and make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. Those are the main ways you can help in getting this show out in front of more people. And the more people listening means the more great guests we have coming forward with their experiences to share with you, the listener. Tonight's guest is my brother from another mother on the other side of the big pond. This is the first time he's been on my show. I've been on him, like I said, I've been on his twice. Tommy Cullum from the Let's Get Freaky podcast over in the UK. Some time ago, Tommy was nice enough to have me on his show. We had a great time. I enjoy talking to him. He's just got a great personality. I love him. That's all I can say. So the word bloke comes to mind. Hopefully that's a proper terminology. If not, I'm sure he'll let me know here shortly. Tommy's got some weird stuff, much like myself. That is the reason why he decided to go into podcasting about the paranormal. And with that being said, let's bring him on. Tommy, welcome to Uncomfortable.
Hello, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I'm blessed to have you on here, my friend. It's good to see you again. I've been listening to your show. You're doing a great job. You've had some really good guests on. And it's about time we got you onto my show.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much, man.
Oh, no problem. So, Tommy, real quick before we get into it, let everybody know where they can find you and what you're doing.
So the podcast is called Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky podcast. We're on all the main podcast platforms. You can find us on all of them. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok now even, at TC Let's Get Freaky podcast. Always on there. So, yeah, it'd be great if you can give us a follow and come and say hi.
He's got some good stuff out there, guys. You need to give him a listen. because he's got some. He's a great personality, and so far, from what I've heard, he's had some really good guests on there.
Thank you very much.
So let's cut through all the buttering each other up and making each other feel good about ourselves. And what got you into wanting to podcast about the paranormal?
Well, I've always loved the paranormal. I've always found it fascinating since I can remember, since being a kid. I've loved it all: ghosts, cryptids, UFOs. Always been fascinated by it. And I started listening to other podcasts, say 5 years ago, and really got into listening to podcasts, and that sort of become a part of my weekly routine. And I thought, you know what, I'd like to do this. I'd like to be that for someone else, be that weekly routine. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me. That's what got me into doing the podcast.
Personal experiences pretty much shaped your early years, or was it later in life that you started having experiences? Or
my first big experience, I was about 10 years old. And it was me and my brother, my mum and dad. We lived in a house that we believe it was haunted, a haunted house.
So your parents were in agreement with it as well?
Yeah, it was weird because we never spoke about it at the time when we was living in the house. We never spoke about it being haunted. It was only when we left, when we finally moved out, that my dad was like, yeah, I'm glad we got out of there.
Wasn't going to say anything while we were there, but damn glad to be out of there.
They didn't want to worry us, but yeah, it was a weird house. It was next to a graveyard, which I suppose helps. And it just had that weird vibe. It's just when you go into a place that's haunted, sometimes you can feel it. And it was that sort of place.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some good years there. We was there for many years. We had some great times there, but there was something there.
What kind of stuff was going on there?
So my first big experience, me and my brother shared a room. We had bunk beds. We had a desk in the room. It was just a normal boys' room me and my brother had. And I was on the top bunk. And one night I've woken up. I don't know what time it was. It was early hours of the morning. I've woken up and looked down at my desk, and there was a man sitting there at my desk, just looking up at me. And it was the scariest thing, one of the scariest things I've ever seen. It was terrifying.
What can you describe him?
So when I describe him, I always say he looks like William Shakespeare.
With the big ruffled collar and all that?
Yeah, he had that sort of look. It wasn't William Shakespeare.
Right.
I think anyway.
that time period, though.
That time period, had that look, had long hair, had like the little beard, and it just had those clothes on that you would associate with that time period. Yeah. And you could see, so there was light coming in from the street lamps outside. So you could see everything in the room. And I could just see him clearly.
Solid,
yeah. It was just like a man was sitting there, solid form. And I'm just looking at this like shocked, absolutely shocked and staring. I screamed for my mum. She's come in the room and this guy is still there, just staring at me. Mm. And I must have been looking at him for a good while before my mum come in, because I was just shocked. I was just waiting for him to disappear, but he wasn't going anywhere. My mum's come in the room and she's like, what's the matter? Because obviously I was a little bit hysterical. And I said, there's a man sitting at the desk. There's a man sitting. And she said, there's no one there. There's no one there. And she obviously stayed in there with me for a little while. And I could still see him. He was still sitting there.
Oh, he didn't leave when she came in?
No, he was still there. And she was going over to him and she was saying he wasn't there, but he was there. I could still see him.
Did you notice was he reacting to her when she came near him?
No, he didn't move. He just stayed in that same position, just staring at me. Yeah, it was terrifying. So he never left. He never left that room the whole night. My mum left the room.
What?
I stayed in the room, which I still can't believe. like, because there's no way I would now. And I've just gone under my covers, sweating. I remember I was sweating under the covers all night, not really sleeping. And yeah, the next day I woke up and
Now, was your brother in the room as well?
my brother was in the room. Yeah, he didn't wake up. I don't know how he didn't wake up because I was
Really?
quite hysterical. He didn't wake up. Yeah, so that was crazy.
How old were you?
So I was about 10 when that happened.
Did you have any, like, I mean, even in the years afterwards, did you ever have any kind of an inkling as to, you know, why or what association he may have had with that house? Or
No, I don't. I never saw him again. That's the only time I saw him. And for what I know, nobody else saw this guy in the house. I know the house that the people that we bought the house off of, the husband died in that house, but obviously he wasn't Shakespearean times, so it wasn't him.
Right. What are we talking? Is that like 1500s?
I should know this, but I'm not too sure. I should know that, really. I'm not sure what.
I mean, because you know, I think we talked about this on your show before.
Yeah.
You know, the difference in our histories over here in the U.S. You know, we haven't been around long enough. You guys over there, you've had civilization over there for, you know, way longer than we have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's a lot of old buildings and obviously castles and things like that.
Yeah. So how weird to see something from that era.
Yeah, and it was just like a solid man sitting there. It was.
Did he like? I mean, was there like any kind of acknowledgement or? I mean, were you convinced that he was looking at you, or were you just seeing him in a position where he looked like he was looking in your direction?
Definitely looking in my direction. He didn't move. He didn't change his position or anything. He just fixed on me. Yeah, it's very, very strange.
Blinking, anything, any twitches on his face, anything that you can remember? Just completely static, motionless.
Just looking at me. When my mum came in the room, he didn't change at all. He didn't acknowledge my mum.
Wow.
Just carried on looking at me. Yeah, it gives me the chills thinking about it, man.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
You know, that almost sounds, you know, with the lack of any kind of engagement between you and it, or he and you, it almost, you know, kind of harkens back to when you talk about different type of hauntings, something being a residual. It almost sounds like you were seeing a residual. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that same room, my brother had a scary experience. He didn't see that guy, but he woke up, had a similar sort of experience, but he just saw eyes looking at him in that same room.
Just eyes?
He said they were like a reddishy colour, just staring at him. And he talks about that now. That was freaky as well.
Wow.
In that same room. Yeah.
So how long did you guys stay in that house?
We was there for a few years. We was there for a good, I would say, 5 years.
Yeah.
So we was there for a while. As I say, we had good times in there, but there was just always that. My dad says it now. He says he always had a weird feeling there.
Really?
Yeah. So there was, and I saw something else in the house as well. I was in my mum and dad's bedroom, and I was just sort of. I think this was after seeing that man, but a little while after, because I wasn't worried. I was just in the bedroom, messing about. I can't remember what I was doing. I was probably playing with something. I don't know. I was in their bedroom, and I was just mucking about, and a naked lady walked past me definitely a naked lady walked past me with blonde hair. And my mum's blonde. So I just thought it was my mum. So this lady's walked past me and gone into the ensuite in my mum and dad's bedroom. And I'm mucking about, just playing, doing whatever I was doing. I can't remember what I was doing, but I've just got mum and just walked into the bathroom just expecting to see her there because I've just seen her walk past me. So I'm talking away and there's no one in the bathroom. And I was like, I was just so shocked. I ran downstairs. I was like, Mum, you just walked past me. And it wasn't her, but some lady definitely walked past me with blonde hair. That was bizarre.
Okay, so when that happened, like you're witnessing her, was it just more or less kind of out of your peripheral, or did you actually like turn and look at her and see that it was your mom?
It was more out of my peripheral.
So you were just making an assumption that it was a blonde lady. It was walking through her bedroom, so it had to be your mom.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was convinced. I just started talking away and walked into the bathroom, and she wasn't there. And I was like, "What have I just seen?" Yeah.
Wow.
Really.
So like once you guys got out of that house, conversations between mom and dad and you about the things that were going on there, did they have experiences that they weren't letting you know about while you were in that house?
From what I don't know if I don't think they did see anything.
No.
They didn't see any. No, I spoke to them since about what I experienced and what my brother experienced, and they believe what we saw.
Right.
Yeah. So my mum was actually saying a little while ago that she feels bad that she left me in the room that night. I said, you should.
You should. That was a terrible thing to do.
Yeah. I was just terrified. I just remember being under the covers, just sweating, I just wouldn't look. Yeah.
Wow.
Terrifying. But I suppose that sort of helped kick on with my fascination with the paranormal.
Yeah, I would assume so. It's either going to scare you off from it or turn you straight towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's crazy experiences there.
What about after that house?
So after that house, there was no more. I've not seen an apparition like that since, like a clear, definite ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not really experienced a lot of ghostly things straight after that. As soon as we moved to the new house, there was none of that. There was no bad vibes. There was no hauntings in that house. I've had some other weird experiences with family and things, if you want me to go into that.
Sure.
So this was a strange one. My nan and granddad were looking to buy a holiday home in England, just a place that we could go to on the weekends as a family. And they was looking all around the country at houses and stuff, and they found this house in Norfolk. I think it was Norfolk, but the village that it was in was called Ramsey. So the whole family's gone down to this village for the day to look at this specific house that they found. And I don't know what era the house was built in, but it was an old house. It was a big house. It had all little tunnels in it where the maids would have worked in and stuff. It was a nice house. I think it was a good price on the market. I think they was quite surprised with how
reasonable.
It was a really nice house, but yeah, it was a reasonable price. So we've all gone down for the day. We're looking at this house. And as soon as we walked into this house, all of us, the whole family, was like, wow, there is a bad feeling here. All of us, apart from my nan and granddad that wanted to buy the house, me, my brother, my mum, my dad, my aunt, my uncles, we was all like, no, there's something not right here.
Really?
Yeah, it's just got this really horrible vibe from it. So we're looking around the house, and my nan and granddad are going, that can be your room, that can be your... And we're thinking, no, we don't want to stay there. But they liked it. They liked this house. But we all got this bad feeling from it. And I think it was a week later, my granddad was at an event, and nobody knew about this house. Nobody knew that the family was looking to buy this house, and it wasn't. Nobody knew. My granddad was at an event, and he was talking to a friend at this event, and he turned around and said to my granddad, "Ron, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I've got to tell you this. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But Ramsey danger. Ramsey danger. That's all I can say." Now, obviously, this house was in Ramsey.
Oh.
So my granddad straight away, I don't know, he must have told the friend the situation, but straight away he was like, whoa, that's not good. So obviously he didn't buy the house.
So he paid attention to it.
He paid attention to it, yeah.
When did Grandma and Grandpa, when they were in that home, were they feeling any weirdness like the rest of you guys were, or were they like, no, this is great, we're gonna love it?
Yeah, they were like, yeah, you can sleep there, this can be your room, and they were quite excited about this house. So I think this was a. Did
you guys vocalize your how you were all feeling about it?
Yeah.
So when he heard the Ramsey danger, he put two and two together.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's no way this guy would have known that we was looking at this house.
Yeah.
So it was very, and it really creeped the whole family out when we heard him say that.
Yeah.
We heard that story. So yeah, that was really strange.
Wow.
So how can you explain something like that?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
You don't know, yeah. So that was a weird. I've had some weird experiences with UFOs as well.
Have you?
Yeah. If you want me to go into that one.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that, and as of recording this today, it's November 21st, and I have to say, I wasn't going to bring this up because I feel like a little bit of a weirdo, but yesterday at about somewhere between like 3:45 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Sitting right here where I am right now, conducting this interview, looking out my picture window. And it was a gloomy day here. It's winter. It's gloomy, a little bit of blue sky showing, mostly clouds. And in my neighborhood, for whatever reason, we've got a lot of crows. And the crows always seem to pretty much follow the same path, and that is they circle around the house across the street from us, and then they fly over like our side of the street towards my home. And I see them on a regular basis, and I've even started taking more notice of them after having interviewed JJ Rose. And there's some connectivity between her and I and the crows. I don't understand it, but she has brought it up multiple times, and I trust her, and she has proven to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are things that she is more privy to than most people. So I pay attention to it, and I've been watching the crows. But yesterday, I saw this, and at first, I thought it was a seagull, because it looked about the size of a bird. It was white, but it was unusual. I didn't see any flapping, and like when you watch a bird flying and they flap their wings, they elevate a little bit, and then it kind of comes down a little bit, and they flap again, and it kind of elevates. This thing was on a very linear path, and I got up off, and you have to understand, I'm looking out a picture window, so my field of view is decent, but so I got up out of my seat and I walked over to the window, and as I was doing that, I had my cell phone in my hand, and I went to swipe up to access the camera because I was going to try to take a video of it. Well, instead of swiping down, I swiped up, and then I had to like try to swipe over to find the camera app. And by that time, this thing had flown behind the trees of the neighbor's house to the left side. But I watched it, and I'm a really observant person. I spent a long time being a bouncer at a bar. I was always paying attention to people and nobody getting behind my back. Always, trying to assess, what kind of personality this person has. Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? And that's carried over into like every aspect of my life. I do it everywhere. Like I cannot go to a restaurant and sit with my back to a door. I have to see who's coming in. It's just, I'm very observant. I'm a people watcher. I watch things. And since my lifelong obsession with, all this weird stuff, I spent a lot of time looking up in the sky. And this thing, it was a very linear path that it took. It was a straight line. It wasn't moving like exorbitantly fast. It wasn't flapping wings. It was like if you had an oval or an ellipse and kind of squashed it down. It was like, I want to say, from my perspective, it did not look like a large object a long, long way away. It looked like a small object, fairly close. And it wasn't flying any higher than what those crows typically fly in our neighborhood. So, roughly, 20, 30 feet above the trees. And it was the weirdest God blessed thing because like center mass of, let's call it this bird. But it really, it didn't look like a bird. I couldn't make out a head and a beak. I couldn't make out tail feathers. It was elongated. It was kind of in the shape of a bird, flying sideways, perpendicular to me.
Yeah.
But like center mass of this thing had like this ball of like when you see a prism and you see like blues and yellows and reds and, but it was muted. It wasn't anything super bright. It was almost like if you were squinting your eyes at some soft lights. And it looked like energy. It looked like a tiny ball of energy, center mass of this thing that was flying across. And I'm sure that, that was keeping me from being able to get my phone open the way, for the camera and everything, because I didn't want to take my eyes off it. And the next thing I know, it flew behind the tree. And I just got a really weird feeling about what I had just seen. I don't know what the hell it was, I tried explaining it to my son and I basically told him exactly what I just told you. But there's nothing about it that makes me say, oh, that was just a bird and the lighting was weird.
Yeah.
Nothing I can think of would, excuse me, nothing I can think of would explain that weird energy, twinkle or sparkle that was going on in the center mass of this thing. And, I absolutely, I have no idea what the hell to do with it. It was just a weird thing. And I keep thinking about it and it's like, it was weird. It was a straight line, man, from east of my house across the front, and I don't know. I'm going to say it was maybe, 80 to 100 feet up. It was relatively close. If it was a bird, I certainly would have been able to tell you that it was a crow or, a hawk or whatever. And I would say that you'll have to excuse me. I'm still coughing from my bout of COVID. I would say that, it was maybe 1.5 to 2 times at most the size of a crow. But it was white and that weird prismy looking ball in the center of it was just bizarre. So I didn't mean to hijack your UFO story, but I'm like, I don't know what the hell it was, So I reached out to Justin from Cryptids of the Corn. He is like the resident biological UAP expert. And he's like, oh, man, this sounds really interesting. But, we're going to have to talk about it at a different time because I guess they just got back from Cryptid Con and we're unpacking everything. So he didn't have a chance to talk. But it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the video. I think it was taken in Utah. I believe it was a film crew that was filming scenery and stuff for a documentary. And there was the small UFO that came from the mountain and then flew right towards the camera that was filming everything. Yeah. And they had to slow it down incredibly slow to be able to see it. And it was, it was reminiscent of what they talk about the Tic Tac, but it looked a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in the shape of what this thing that I saw, but it didn't have the prismy looking lights in it. In the center of it, but really bizarre.
Did you say you tried to get a picture of it?
I was messing with my phone, and I've got an iPhone, so if you swipe down from the lock screen, it'll give you an option to just hit the camera and it'll pop right up. Well, instead of swiping down on my phone, I swiped up.
Oh, okay.
And then I had to swipe through a couple of different screens to find my phone app or my camera app. And by the time I got my finger on it, it was going behind the trees to the left of the neighbor's house.
Wow.
It was just weird. I don't know what to do with it. I really don't. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I saw.
Have you tried drawing it down? Drawing it just to...
I have actually got my daughter's iPad, and there's a drawing program on there that she uses, and I've got a really good idea in my head of what I saw, so I'm going to try to get that an accurate representation of what I think I saw. So
interesting, man.
I say I think I saw. I know I saw it.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty detail oriented person, so I don't know, man. It wasn't a bird. I guarantee it was not a damn bird.
Yeah.
But it wasn't much bigger than a bird, maybe twice the size of, like I said, maybe twice the size of a regular crow. Unless my perspective was really, really skewed and off, it did not look like it was something bigger way far away. It looked like it was something relatively small and relatively close to the ground.
Oh.
So
it's mad when you see something like that and you just can't.
Yeah, it is strange.
Like you just can't put anything on it.
Like I said, I had a phone call with my son today. It was explaining it to him, and there was a good deal of silence on the other end of the phone when I was telling him about it. And he's like, I don't even know what to do with that. He's like, it's weird. So yeah, I don't know. So let's hear about yours.
I've had a similar experience to that, but luckily enough, my mother-in-law was with me when I had the experience. So 2 of us saw it.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I was in my old flat in Brentwood, which is just near London, in Essex, in England. And we was on the top floor of the flat. And it was only 4 stories high. It wasn't massively high, but we had this little foresty bit in front of the flat. So we was above the trees. So you could just see over the...
Yeah.
And me and my mother-in-law were just talking, just looking out and just talking. And all of a sudden, from the trees, 3 objects came up from the trees. And me and my mother-in-law are both seeing this. And we're both like, what is that? We couldn't put anything on it. It was 3 objects, and they were sort of not particularly big. I would say they was about as big as a basketball, each of them.
Really?
And they were sort of going around each other like they were connected, but they weren't actually touching. So they seemed to be connected somehow, but they weren't actually touching each other.
Were they keeping the same distance apart from each other? Just rotating
Yeah, that's how But these things didn't have a shape. You couldn't put a shape on it because they were constantly changing shape.
That's the way the center, the prismy thing that I was talking about in what I saw.
Yeah.
It was changing. You know, I mean, it was always kind of ballish, but it was, yeah.
That's very strange that you said that, because it took me to this straight away. These 3 objects were changing shape, so like you couldn't put a shape on them, and they were like a silvery color. Have you seen the Terminator when he melts?
Yeah.
It's that sort of silvery color. That's what they look like, and they were sort of changing shape, and we were just watching these for ages. Me and my mother-in-law. And I don't know why I didn't try and get a video, but we didn't. We were just both watching it and both trying to work out what it was.
Yeah.
We were watching it for a good, I would say, 5 minutes.
Really?
And it was just going up and up slowly, but sort of they were staying together, these objects, and sort of going around each other, changing shapes, and they were this silvery color. And we was trying to work out what it was going. It's not a balloon. It's not a balloon. It's not this. We couldn't work out what it was. And it was just going up and up and up. And then all of a sudden, you just saw flash, 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 and they were gone.
Oh, no shit.
And we was like, nobody's going to believe us that we just saw that. We both said it to each other. It was like, no, but I'm so happy that you're there seeing this with me, so that when we tell people, there's 2 of us that have seen this.
Yeah.
And everyone we tell, I tell people, and I'm like, I can just see that they're like, okay. We saw that.
You guys 100%. Were hitting the sauce.
Yes. That's why I was so happy my mother-in-law was there to see it with me. So I had backup on that one.
That's crazy.
And I don't know what it was. I can't put a shape to it. All I know is that they were pretty close. They were the size of a basketball each, and they seemed to be connected, but they weren't touching. I don't know what it was, but it was very strange.
And how big was this wooded area that you were?
It wasn't a massive wooded area. So it was just like, it was, I would say, half a mile long.
Yeah.
So behind that is the town. So it was not a big. It's not a big forest or anything. It was just like a few, like just a number of trees. It was these objects came out of.
That's so
very strange.
How long ago was that?
So this was about 8 years ago when this happened. And me and my mother-in-law, we still talk about it now. We still try and work out what it was.
Have you ever seen anything video-wise, or, you know, like any of these UFO YouTube channels or anything that, you know, have people send in different videos from around the countries or around the world, actually? See anything that ever resembled anything that you saw?
Not really, no. I've not seen any where there's 3 things connected. I've not seen that, no. I'd like to see that again. It's very strange.
Did the color ever really change at all, or was it always that silvery liquid metal looking?
Yeah, that's how it looked. That's how it looked. And it was sort of, I can't even explain it. It was just changing shape. They weren't ever the same shape either. They just looked like they were separate things, but together at the same time, if that makes sense. Very strange. And then to see them flash, and shoot off.
Yeah.
That was weird. And
that sounds really familiar to me. The flash and then.
See that when I've seen things like that, when I've seen things that look like that before.
Yeah.
But the actual, what they were, very strange.
Wow.
But fascinating. I've had a few. I've seen a few UFOs because I'm fascinated with UFOs, especially the last 5 years where I've been really into it, and I'm always trying to see something. I'm always looking up.
Yeah. So, like, what's your perspective on the UFO phenomenon over there? I know that you guys have been a little more accepting and a little more open to them than what the U.S. has been. And the U.S. government had kind of a change of faith and decided to admit that these videos that were released by the military were actually unidentified aerial phenomenon. And then they went through the whole thing with the having Congress was having some of these 3-letter agencies who had information on this stuff were testifying and giving reports. And then, just here recently, there's kind of been another turn of the cheek, and now they're saying that, the gimbal video and the go fast and all that, were all just misidentified. So now they're kind of backtracking again after having like told everybody, yeah, this stuff is real. Now they're kind of backtracking on that it's not. So like what is your guys' perspective over there? Do you hear much about what our government is talking about on the UAP subject? Or
we do. I think it's a mixture, really. You get people that are really like myself that are really into it and believe it, and then you get others that are, sort of look at you like you're crazy when you tell people that you're into this sort of thing. But I guess it's probably the same, to be honest. It's probably this because we sort of seem to get the same information. So I think it's just a mixture. It's just what you believe, really.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Tic Tac video, when that came out, like we're saying, look, that's like an official video from the government. But there were still people going, nah, even though that's from the government, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the why they've backpedaled on this now. Yeah. It's strange.
It seemed to be really coming in thick and fast. It's giving us more and more.
Yeah.
And you got to think, what's the reason for that to stop?
Yeah, I don't know. It's disheartening because, there was a, even though they weren't giving us a whole lot, they were giving us some, and that was exciting. And it kind of made us feel like we were catching up with some of the other nations throughout the world who have been a bit more open about it. And then to have it just kind of clam back up. And so I'm not quite sure what to make of that.
It's very strange. But I've seen a few, what I would say are UFOs, definitely. I've had a lot of experiences.
Have you? Do they seem to be pretty prevalent over where you're at?
I mean, I feel like I've seen a few, but I'm always looking for it. A lot of people seem to have had experiences. I talk to a lot of people that have seemed to have had experiences. So I think it's quite I think so.
I don't know why. It just seems, it seems to be, and maybe it's maybe it's a false perspective because, a lot of the times that I watch documentaries or shows about UFOs.
Yeah.
The UK seems to be in a lot of them. And I don't know if it's just because, the Rendlesham Forest thing, historically, but it seems to be pretty prevalent on that side of the world.
Yeah.
And then I've got, in a couple of days here, I'll be interviewing a gentleman from Sweden, Klaus Svahn, who's, the ghost rockets and stuff like that in Sweden. I'm really interested to get into it with him about his group as well.
Yeah.
But he's been doing it for 30 years on the topic, and it's so, I think it's with anything, somebody who investigates paranormal activity, ghost hauntings, stuff like that. People who research Bigfoot, people that spend an exorbitant amount of their life chasing these things. It doesn't make any sense to me that at some point throughout 30 plus years, you wouldn't have an epiphany where it was just like, you know what? I've been wrong about this. This is crap. It's not real, Yeah. But you have people who have spent the majority of their lives, researching this stuff, and they can't be crazy.
No.
There's so many people who have, in all the different aspects of high strangeness, there's thousands and thousands of people who have had Bigfoot sightings and report it. There's, thousands of people who have reported UFO sightings over the past, 50, 60 years, 70 years, whatever it is. It really kind of took off after the Roswell thing back in the 40s. But, looking back in history, there's reports of these things in the air back during, the Wild West here in the States, So, there's religious paintings that have them depicted, So, and those just happen to come from Europe, but
they always seem to have been here. They've always been about.
Yeah. What do you think about them? Do you think they're traveling from a different planet, or do you think they are something that is more likely interdimensional? And I hate using that word because it sounds so ridiculous. But when you think about it, is it that ridiculous to think that something could, like that thing that I saw yesterday? Did I get a glimpse? Was the veil thin? Was that something that is in its natural environment? I just happened to get a glimpse of it. I don't know. It's a strange.
I think it could be a mixture. I do think there could be other dimensions, and I think that's a possibility. But also, I do think as well that it could be visitors from other planets as well. I think it could be a mixture of both, and I think it could be aliens that are actually from Earth that we don't know as well. When the people say they're under the sea, or I think it could be a mixture of all these things.
I tell you, that's one of the things that really gets me when I see when I watch a show, about our seas and the vast difference in life that we see down there. With the bioluminescence and the weird undulating, frills and my God, man, if there is alien life on this earth, it's down in the sea.
Yeah.
Because that is some of the most bizarre looking stuff, you know, even an octopus, you know, octopus is very common, you know, for us to see. I mean, you can go to aquariums and see them, you know, you can see them on the beaches. That's a weird creature.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, they've exhibited an extraordinary intelligence. I don't know, man.
There's so much of the sea that we don't know as well, isn't there? There's so much unexplored ocean.
Yeah. Don't they say that we know more about space than we do about our own seas?
Which is crazy when you think
that. Yeah.
I don't know a lot about space.
Yeah. I got a kick not too long ago, within the last 3 or 4 weeks. NASA announced a group of scientists that they were putting together that was going to be studying the possibility of extraterrestrial. And it's like just now in 2022, you guys have been dorking around with space exploration since when? And you're just now going to put together a group to maybe think about the possibility. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not buying it.
No.
It's never too early for holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for a friend or the friend in your pants, you can make this season holly, jolly, and a lot less hairy with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favor and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Just add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have your partner thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. It's a fact that Santa cares about his sack, and so should you. So, look your best while getting naughty by going to manscaped.com and use the code uncomfortable22 for free shipping and 20% off. The Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. It has everything needed to help you deck the halls from face to balls, and just in time for mistletoe season. The Platinum Package has each product from the best-selling Performance Package Plus, Ultra Premium Body Wash, 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, and deodorant. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer and the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence, and they're both waterproof. The 4.0 trimmer now has LED lighting, so you can light up the way just like Rudolph. Once the grooming is done, it's time to make sure you don't smell like a reindeer. And with the Platinum Package shower products, all of Manscaped shower gear is sulfate-free, vegan, and made to have your skin feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. But smelling good doesn't stop there at the shower. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner can solve stank problems all day long. Once they touch your sack, you'll never go back. The Platinum Package 4.0 sitting under the tree is guaranteed to put anyone in the holiday spirit. And for the perfect stocking stuffer, add the brand new Body Buffer and incredible body scrubber that makes exfoliating easy and a lot cleaner than your old loofah. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code uncomfortable22 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping worldwide at manscaped.com. Use the code uncomfortable22. Manscaped. Get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. So what other kind of weird stuff have you had happen?
So with the UFO stuff, I was on Kat Ward's show, Paranormal Heart podcast, and she was going through some of my experiences. And I had this memory come back to me while I was on the show, and I just spoke about it. And basically this goes back to when I was about 14, 15. And we used to play football in the street all the time. Like, that's what we did. We played football in the street. And it was me and my brother, and there was always a different group of friends. I can't remember what friends were with us at the time, but it was definitely me and my brother and whoever else was playing football with us on that day. And we were just playing football, just, having a kick about. And all of a sudden, we've noticed in the distance what looked like, the best way I can describe it looked like, these crazy buildings that you see in Dubai.
Yeah.
It looked like that in the sky, just standing still in the distance. There's this weird, like, triangle sort of shape, but long. And we've all stopped playing football. Like, what is that? and we're all trying to work out what this is. And it had like orange on it and silver. And we was looking at this object for 10 minutes. You know, we was just trying to work out what it was. It wasn't moving. It didn't go anywhere. And I can remember us all just talking about it and being fascinated by it. And unfortunately, we didn't have phones at this time, because I'm sure we would have got a lot of good pictures and videos of it, but we didn't have any phones then. And all I remember is that we was looking at this for ages, and then we just carried on playing football. You know, it was just, and it's a sort of memory had sort of gone, but it came back to me while I was talking about these things the other day. And I'd done the show, and the show went out. My brother listened to it, and he rang me up and he said, "Bruv, I remember seeing that craft. I remember seeing that UFO. What was that? We never spoke about it since." And I was like, "No, I'm glad you remember it." But what it was, I mean, I don't know. But it was very strange, and it just looked like a building that you'd see in the fire. Best way for me to explain it. But
yeah, isn't that weird? Because there's been a number of videos where people are videotaping in the clouds what looks to be like a city, you know, and I've seen the explanation that, you know, depending on a certain amount of moisture that's in the clouds and the lighting being just right, that it creates a mirror effect and you're actually seeing what's, you know, a mirror effect of what's on the ground below it. To me, that just stinks of high horse shit. I'm not buying it.
That sounds crazy than actually seeing a UFO.
But that's a really weird phenomenon that you can find it quite a bit about online.
Yeah.
You know, the one that really gets me is, and there's a couple of different videos from it's the same event, but from different areas, different locations of this pyramid that appeared above in the sky above the Pentagon.
Oh wow!
And I believe there's two different views from people that were on opposite sides of, you know.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre. It's like a very large pyramid shape above the Pentagon, and it's just kind of slowly turning on itself. It's bizarre.
From different angles.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Very bizarre.
Yeah.
And
it's cool that they've got the two shots of it from different angles.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been somebody, you know, messing around with CGI and, you know, had a lot of good software, you know, behind them and able to render out some stuff that looked pretty realistic. But to do it from two different perspectives, you know, that was what was a little bit more convincing to me, that was something. Now, it may have been proven to be a hoax. If it has, I haven't seen it. But it's a very interesting video.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. That's cool. There's so many videos out there that just look amazing. Mm-hmm. And then you find out some of them are unfortunately not real, which is frustrating.
The ones that really intrigue me are the ones of what appear to be like craft around the outside of our sun. That almost appear to be extracting, you know, something, whether it's a gaseous material or something from the sun. And it's like, you know, those very intriguing. I'm very curious as to what's going on there.
Yeah. I think there's so much out there in there that we just don't. I love it.
It really does make, you know, and I've said this a number of times, you know, when you, I'm not saying you have to believe everything. You know, everybody's got their own gut. Everybody, you know, you can look at something. I mean, I love Bigfoot. I'm a whore for trying to find good representation of evidence in videos or documentaries or whatever. But inevitably, my gut is always like, no, that ain't real. Or, holy crap, there's something to that. That seems very organic. That I'm putting it in the basket of, I think that's a possible real stuff. But it makes life so much more interesting and enjoyable. I mean, I guess maybe from my perspective, because I enjoy this stuff. It just makes things, you have so much more you can talk about, I would much rather talk about this kind of stuff than the horseshit that's going on in the news every day, or, what's going on in our political climate. The shit show that is. This kind of stuff is, and it seems to be, we were talking about this before we started recording. I lost my mom here very recently, and I did not grow up with a healthy relationship with death. I mean, that sounds weird, but death is a horrible thing. It's sad. It makes you cry, and you miss people, and makes your heart hurt, and all that. But, with the passing of my mom, I don't know. It seems like the more that I've steeped myself into these topics, and the more perspectives that I have seen through other people's eyes and ways of looking at things that might not have normally crossed my mind, has made it easier for me to deal with her passing.
Yeah.
And, for myself, that's been a huge thing, because, it could have been a devastating loss, and I mean, it is, it sucks that she's gone. She was a wonderful woman. I loved her to death. She's the only mom I'll ever have. And now she's gone. So yes, it sucks. But it could have been a lot worse on my psyche and I think I owe it to having been able to have conversations with people about those topics, and have seen and heard so many different perspectives on, what transpires after somebody passes. I don't know. I'm very grateful for it. That's one of the great things about doing these shows. I love it.
Because we know now that there's something else.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly believe 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is. I think we touched on this on your show, after my dad passed. I had some really profound experiences, probably 9 to 12 months after he passed. But it was all very, very pointed, very directed at, that was him. There were things that were going on that were making me understand that he was in whatever way reaching out. And I've heard other people say, well, you got to be careful because that wasn't really him. It's the demons that have followed you since birth, who know who you are, who are acting like your father. So you think that it's him. And it's like, and I don't think I believe that. I think they're called familiars. Apparently you're born with them, and they learn everything about you. And then when somebody passes in your life, then they come back and they act like that person so that they can fool you into it. I don't buy that. Are there bad spirits out there? Sure. Absolutely. Are there demons? Yeah. If you believe in angels, you got to believe in demons, so, but yeah, it's been doing these shows has honestly been a gift. It really has. And, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So.
It's very special. It is very special.
It is, and the community that gets behind it. I don't know what your experience has been, but like the community around uncomfortable has been, and I've had, like JJ, a lot of my people have reached out to her, and not only her, but other guests as well. And they've always responded to me by saying, your listeners are like the nicest people in the world. They just are they're just nice. I don't have, and knock on wood, I'm not taking this for granted, but, I don't have anybody in my community that's a troll that, just can't wait to light somebody up, or really trash into a guest that I have on. I think the people that the show attracts are very open-minded and accepting people who just, you hear a different perspective, and it may not necessarily work for you, but that's the wonderful thing about it. I've had other people on the show where I've been able to learn to look through their perspective at some of the things that I've experienced. And it doesn't necessarily change my view of what I think happened, but I can look at it from a different standpoint and see different points.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing. I think that's made me a much more open-minded, more accepting person all the way around, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man.
It is. I enjoy doing this. This is it's been a gift. It really has.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for about 4 months now. I'm absolutely loving it. I love it. The people you meet, as you said, the different perspectives, you can't beat it. It's amazing. It's something very special about it.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I'm sure it's not just this genre of podcast. I'm sure that, whether you do a financial podcast or, you do a podcast on selling homes or, whatever it may be, I'm sure everybody experiences something to a similar effect.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I think, has to do with just being able to communicate with people.
Yeah, 100%.
It's an art that is going to waste on the youth of today because, nobody can take the time to look up from their phones and engage in a conversation in a meaningful way without having to look down at their phone and, or down at their watch and, respond to this or like that, or, it's just, it's a more a personal thing. It's a personal thing. And I think when people find shows like this, they understand and they're kind of drawn into that personal connection that I have with my guests. And it's a great thing. Super excited to keep doing this. And I'm glad your show's doing well.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm loving your show, brother. I love it every week. It's become a part of my routine.
Has it really?
Week. I love it, man.
Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. It's and I keep getting these little jumps in listenership, and I try not to pay a whole lot of attention to it all the time. I don't want to obsess over it. But then all of a sudden there'll be a jump, and it's like, I don't know where that happened from. I don't know what caused that. Did the right person share it with a ton of people, or did somebody find an episode of somebody else's podcast that I was on and it just took off from there, or what?
Well, I had a big jump when you came on my show, that's for sure.
Did you?
I had a big jump, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So I would hope that you get a pretty good jump when this airs as well.
I hope so. Thank you very much, sir.
It's been my pleasure. It's been long overdue.
Yeah. I've still got some more freaky stuff to tell you as well.
Let's get to it.
I'm not done yet.
Let's get to it.
So I'll tell you this. This is another UFO one. I have got other stuff as well that's happened, but I'll tell you this because this was pretty crazy. So I was I was away. There's a place in England called Centre Parks. I don't know if you've heard it. It's like a holiday place, wood lodges, and it's like a foresty place. Cool place. We go there quite a lot. We used to go there like once a year, and we were staying there. And this was in Norfolk, and I like taking pictures of trees and stuff. That's a bit weird, but I like it. If I see a nice little tree line, I'll take a picture. So I'm just looking out and I've seen this beautiful tree line. And I thought, I'm going to take a picture of that. It was dark. It was night time. And I took a picture. And as I've took a picture, something has shot up from the forest, just straight up like a shooting star, but it was from the forest and it's just gone straight up so quick. And I was like, have I caught that on my camera? I wasn't sure. It didn't come out on the actual picture. But you know, when you press down on the iPhone, it sort of takes a little video.
Oh yeah, the live view. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out on that, and you saw this, whatever it was, shoot up.
No kidding.
And it didn't make any sound. It wasn't a firework or anything like that. It was just a really super quick light that came up from the forest and went straight up to the sky, and it was gone. And the weird thing, I was looking at this picture and I was like, wow, I've caught that. And then I just got this horrible feeling, really weird feeling that I shouldn't have this. It was so strange because, bearing in mind, I love this subject. I would have shared that on Facebook straight away, you know, normally. Right. And I just got this horrible dark feeling, and I was like, I've got to get rid of this. I don't know what it is. And I deleted it. I deleted the picture. Now, this picture wouldn't have proved anything. It wasn't. Yeah. It was just a light that shot up. But I had this horrible feeling, and I deleted it, and I deleted it from my recently deleted as well, which was really strange. So I didn't want this on my phone.
No kidding.
It was just a really weird feeling because I love this sort of thing. I wouldn't delete that, you know, and I just got this bad vibe about it, and I deleted it.
Like it was something you shouldn't have seen, or?
No, it felt. I just got this horrible feeling, and I listened to it and I deleted it, and I regretted it ever since. So I don't know why. I don't know why I would do that. It was just really weird because I'd like to think if I'd done that now, I'd just fight that feeling and keep it. But I don't know why. I don't know why that would. I don't know why I'd even think that. I don't know. It was very strange. I try and take pictures of stuff like that all the time, you know?
Yeah.
There's no way I would delete something like that. But I just got this horrible feeling, and a feeling that I have to delete it. And I did delete it. It's really weird.
How strange.
I still regret it to this day.
You think maybe that it was what you saw was some sort of more of an entity?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. At first, I didn't think that. Someone did mention that to me, and I think that it could have been, yeah. Because to get that horrible, dark feeling out of nowhere, really, you know?
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Wow.
It was very, very strange. Because, you know, I've taken videos before when I thought I've caught, like, UFOs and stuff, and I'll post it straight away, you know? It's not... it's really weird. I don't know why I deleted it.
How long ago was that?
This was about 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So it wasn't that long ago. It's just really strange. And it still bugs me. It still bugs me that I don't understand why I did that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't do that. But it's just got this weird, and I remember telling everyone I've caught this weird picture, but I've deleted it because for whatever reason I just had this urge to delete it. Very strange feeling.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think that what you captured was maybe something akin to a I don't know, demonic spirit, or
possibly, yeah. I mean, when I first saw it and I first see the picture, I put it down to being a UFO or something. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it could have been that. And it makes more sense for it to be something like that because of the feeling that I got from it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very strange.
That's odd. What else you got?
So recently, I've been having a few weird experiences, like really recently. And I don't know if it's because I'm talking about this sort of stuff all the time and I'm opening myself up to it more. I don't know. But there's definitely stuff happening around me recently within the last couple of months, 3 months, that are really weird. Seeing things in the corner of my eye a lot, hearing strange noises a lot. We talk to a lot of different people that have had a lot of different experiences. And shadow people is something that I've never really, I've not thought about that a lot, you know, and I'm just learning more about that. I think I had a shadow person experience when I was 21. And it's only recently that I've sort of worked out that that's what it was. So when I was 21, I didn't know what a shadow person was. So when I had the experience, I never put it down to being that. But after talking to people about shadow people and their experiences, it's very similar, and it's the same thing, basically. So I came back from university when I was 21. Me and my brother we shared a bedroom upstairs. We had our own little bit in the loft that was converted. So we had our own room upstairs. And I was sleeping one night, and I've woken up and there was a black figure looking over me. I woke up and it's how people explain a shadow person. So it was darker than the room. Mm-hmm. And it was like the shape of a man. So I woke up, absolutely crap myself, seen this thing looking at me. And I think in my head straight away, I thought it was my brother mucking about, looking over me. So I've tried to punch this figure. Oh. I was thinking it's my brother. So I'm thinking, what are you doing? So I've tried to punch it. I've took a swing at this thing. And I've obviously made a little noise while I've done this because my brother's woke up on the other side of the room, turned the lights on. Bruv, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? I said, I thought you were standing over me. And it scared me so much, and it stuck with me. But at the time, I sort of put it down to maybe being tired and didn't think too much of it. I didn't put it down to a paranormal thing really at the time. And it's sort of, to the back of my mind, not really thought about it much. But recently, in the last, I would say 3 months, I've had that experience twice in my new house where I've woke up and there is something looking over me, a shadow person. And it's there for a little while, I see it, and then it goes. And it's really weird. And that's recent. And then it sort of clicked back that that's what I saw when I was 21. And I've sort of put so I think that's what I'm experiencing.
What does your wife have to say about this kind of stuff? Is she supportive of it? Is she dismissive of it?
She's supportive. She's had some weird experiences as well.
Yeah.
She believes she's got the same sort of beliefs that I have. She didn't like it when I told her there was someone looking over us at night.
Yeah, I would imagine not.
Go down too well. But yeah, I mean, what it was, I don't know. But it fits the descriptions of what people describe shadow people as being.
Well, you know, I've talked to a number of people because it's funny that you brought this up. Movement out of the corner of your eye. I heard, this has probably been about 4 weeks ago. I live in the house that my mother lived in up until the point where I put her into a nursing home. At one point she had 3 cats, and 2 of them had passed before she went into the nursing home, and the 3rd one went back with my daughter when my mom went into the nursing home, and passed away a few months ago. I went into a room in the house that my mom used to use for getting changed to go to bed. And I walked into that room. That room is going to be my studio. Okay. And I walked in there to kind of assess all the things that, needed to be thrown away, things that need to be packed up. What was I saving? What was I not saving? And I stood in that room. This is a brick house. The windows were closed. The air conditioning was running. There were no windows were open. It wasn't like I heard something from outside. And as I stood in that room, a cat meowed.
Wow.
And it took me by surprise to the extent that I literally looked down to my right at the floor because I fully expected to see a cat sitting there.
Wow.
And there was no cat there. And there was no cat in the house because they had all passed away and the last one had gone to live with my daughter. Yeah. And that was weird. Nothing scary about it. I don't think, it's kind of unnerving.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I'm falling asleep or laying in bed after I shut the TV down and just, you hear the ambient sounds of the house. And I'm like, I don't want to hear a cat meow, But, I've talked to a number of people, and they said that, probably because of me doing this show, on top of that, I've had several tell me that I'm going through a bit of an awakening of my own.
Yeah.
That sounds hokey as hell. So I don't like to say that out loud. But I think they're right to some extent.
Yeah.
And I have had darting images just outside my peripheral. I literally saw a hand wrap around, like the fingers wrap around the outside edge of a door jamb. And it was fleeting. It was immediate and it was jarring and it was gone. But I know damn well what I saw, and it was fingers wrapping around the edge of the door jamb.
Wow.
And I can't explain it. I don't sit around and use Ouija boards. I don't summon to try to summon spirits or anything like that. I don't do any kind of investigations in my house. I don't ask questions. I don't try to catch EVPs in my home. I will do that on other premises, but it's not something that I want to entertain at all where I live. But these things that I've had happen, I'm seeing, things out of the corner of my eye when I'm at work, when I'm in other places, and it's strange, it's like, are these people right? Am I going through, an awakening of sorts? And, I don't profess to be, anything. I don't profess to be a empath or, psychic or anything like that. But yet I've had, five different women who have all have my, complete trust, because of things that they've been able to tell me, that would not be known and could not be found out. They tell me that, you got things going on. You're
That's interesting.
So I don't know.
Is it more and more as well, or is it?
Say again?
Is it something that you're noticing is happening more and more, and it's happening more often?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a number of things happen recently. I don't know if you listened to the episode that I did with the Tony Merkel down when we all went down to the confessionals. That was a 4-hour podcast. That's a lot to get through. But that whole thing with the cloud at the Lexington exit in Kentucky, that's still working on me. What happened to 90 minutes of my trip? I don't know. I don't have no.
That's mad.
I've got no good explanation for it. In fact, I was going to do an episode, a small short episode to revisit this, because I recently, since this happened, I have been in a constant state of going back through my phone, looking at timestamps from phone calls that I know that happened, text messages that I know that I got during the time that I was driving, Instagram posts that listeners had made during the time that I was on the road. And it was my impression up until just about a week ago. It was my impression that the weirdness started at the point that I saw the cloud in Lexington. But that's not right. It's not right at all. Because when I start looking at the distance from the Lexington exit to the truck stop, it's 40 minutes. It took me an hour to get there. I was in the middle of a 20-minute traffic stop, and it was 40 minutes to get there. That's 60 minutes. That put me at the truck stop at 7 o'clock. From the truck stop to the Airbnb was 2 hours and 15 minutes by GPS. I made it in 2 hours and 34 minutes. So there was a difference of only like 15 minutes. The weirdness happened from the time I left my house to the time I got down to the Lexington exit. When I saw that cloud in the sky do its thing and kind of morph into whatever the hell that was supposed to be, that was signifying the end of it.
Wow.
And I still don't. I don't know what the hell to do with it. There's 90 minutes of travel that I never left my car, that I was on the road, that I was driving, that doesn't make any sense. 90 minutes extra added to my trip. And the only thing I can honestly say, at a point during that, it felt like there was something that was acting on me to delay my arrival. Not that it was trying to stop me, not that it was trying to keep me from getting there. There was an intentional delay, and I don't understand what that was. I don't know what the point of slowing my travel down was.
It's very interesting, man.
And then I saw this thing in the sky yesterday, and it's like, I'm having an uptick in personal experiences, and I don't know why. It's like I said, it's not like I sit around and read a bunch of books of how to be more open-minded, how to astral project, or how to remote view, or how to do this or how to do that. I'm not doing those things. I don't know.
Yeah, super interesting, man.
Something seems to be opening me up.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
So when you was in the car, there was nothing that felt out of place. When there's no, how can I explain it? There's no time that you didn't feel like you weren't there.
Nope.
Basically.
Nope. The only thing that I really remember And it's not going to be as dramatic as I make it sound. I was surprised when I hit Kentucky.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I saw the sign that said, "You're entering Kentucky." Excuse me. It was strange because I expected to go through some heavy traffic area around Indianapolis, which is kind of the middle of Indiana. Now, granted, I was off to the side of it, but I still thought I was close enough that, around that 3 or 4 o'clock, I would have ran into some pretty heavy traffic. And I didn't. There were a couple of times that I got slowed up in traffic. But they were, 18, 20, 22 minutes. It wasn't anything that, added up to 90 minutes of unaccounted for. I mean, literally, I figured out that I would have had to have gone 160 miles at an average of like 31 and a half miles an hour.
Yeah.
To extend that trip by the amount of time that it extended it. And there's no way I was traveling major highways. If I was traveling at 31 miles an hour, my ass would have got pulled over by the police and said, "What the hell are you doing on the highway?" There's no way. And again, the really weird thing is that I really was under the impression that the weirdness happened at the point that I saw the cloud then going down to the Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then to find out that all of that lined up to within 15 minutes. That was like what was kind of flabbergasted me. It was like, wait a minute, you're telling me that my time issue happened between the time I left the house and the time I got to the Lexington exit. That made even less sense because, I had, at the point that I saw the cloud, I was like, that was really freaking weird. And it changed into something that looked very strange. And then I got to the truck stop, and I know that I had a conversation with a lovely lady that stopped right at 7:00 p.m. That's when I got out of the car, hung up the phone, got out of the car, and filled up with gas. Went inside, took a leak, grabbed a sandwich, got back in the car, wolfed down the sandwich, and was back on the road. But at that point, I was feeling like something was slowing me down. And I had people calling me and I had people text messaging me and, what's taking so long? Where are you at? Why aren't you here? And, and then the power goes out at the Airbnb at 8:30 or at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the power comes back on to the Airbnb when I'm pulling into the driveway. It was, so everything to me at that point, everything seemed like it was happening from the truck stop to the Airbnb. But when I go back and I look at the timeline and the miles and the GPS coordinates, what it tells you how long it's going to take you, I was there within 15 minutes of when I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
From point A to point B. But from home to the Lexington exit should have taken me 5 hours, and it took me 6.5. Wow. The whole trip should have, with 2 gas stops, the whole trip should have taken me no longer than 8 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah. And it took me 11 hours. Wow. And my trip home, 8 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I had no problems coming home whatsoever.
That's strange, man.
Yeah. And I even took a route that route originally added like 20 minutes to my time. I did not want to go back the same way that I came down because I did not want, for one, I didn't want anybody knowing the route that I was taking home.
Yeah.
And second of all, I did not want a repeat of what had happened on the way down there.
Yeah. I bet that was just so, it must have been so strange, man.
It's still strange. I still can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have literally had, you know, like 3 sheets of paper where I've started listing things in order of chronological order of where I was, what I was doing, who I was talking to, who I got text messages from, who, you know, specifically people who liked my Instagram page while I was driving because I could see the banner pop up, you know, and I could go back and I could look at what time they liked that photo, you know, and it's just the most bizarre thing.
Jeez, man. Wow.
And nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Any of the people that were down there, you know, I'm like, I need to talk about this. Let's talk about it.
What did they think happened? What was the general?
The overall sense of something was at play, because Tony, Christian, myself, we all saw something dart past the couch to the chair that I was sitting in. Behind that chair, we all saw something at the Airbnb. I had my experiences with Joel, which I felt there were a number of times throughout the conversation where he was getting really aggressive with me. That I felt that he was kind of aiming what he was saying at me, but nobody else recognized that. Nobody else saw that. They were all like, no, dude, he wasn't doing that. But yet I was feeling that. So, you know, I don't know what was at play. I don't know what was acting on that group of people. You know, Joel and I are friends. There's no problems between us. Yet there seemed to be a freaking rub between the two of us over that weekend, you know, and he was super happy to see me when I got there. And, you know, but you know, when we started talking about the things that we were talking about, it seemed like there was a rub. I'm not saying that it was him, but I think there was something at play, and I don't know what the hell it was.
When you think about the subject that you guys were talking about, man, that just that adds to it as well. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting stuff, man.
Those are the kind of things that really annoy me. It really irritates the hell out of me, because I know no matter how much time I put into it, how much effort I put into trying to figure out what it is, I'm never going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be no resolution to this whatsoever. But my personality type will not let me let go of it.
Yeah.
You know, I continuously, it's something that is like always in the back of my mind now. You know, I'm not obsessed over it. I might be kind of close. I might be kind of close to being obsessed with it.
It sounds crazy. Has anyone said to you like that you could have been abducted or something? Has anyone put that to you? I know that sounds.
There was some joking around about it, kind of in a half serious way.
Yeah.
Between the group of us, she keeps coming up, and you know, JJ. She said that, you know, that during that time I was uploaded. And I'm like, I don't know, what the hell does that mean? You know, but like not that I was taken or went anywhere, but here's the really weird thing, because I love listening to loud music, and I don't get to do it very often because I work like 5 minutes from, I live 5 minutes from work. So, you know, I can barely get through one song in the time that I leave my driveway till I get to work.
Yeah.
So typically, like if I'm on if I have a long drive, I'm listening to some loud music, listening to a podcast. I've got something going on that I'm listening to. And the day that I took this trip down to Tennessee, I didn't listen to anything. I wasn't listening to music. I wasn't listening to podcasts. I was kind of spending some time in my head that I don't normally get to do a lot of. So that was really, that's out of character for me. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I don't know if that was a result of what was going on,
That's mad, man.
I don't know. It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
Because it was quite out of what I normally do. Five and a half hours of driving without listening to anything. There's no way in hell. I would have to be listening to something, and I didn't. That whole time. I was like perfectly fine being in my head, and I'm like, that's just not me. Yeah, my head's not that fun of a place to be. I typically need some kind of stimulus.
Yeah.
And
I've got something on. I've always got a podcast on.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was and still is a very strange, very strange experience.
Yeah.
And I got a message from Joel a couple of days ago that he's done a couple of other podcasts and had very similar results with some electronic failures during that. Yeah. So it seems to be continuing.
I wonder if I can get him on Let's Get Freaky and test it out there as well.
I don't know.
Can we try that?
Are you recording with Joel?
I haven't yet, no. I'd like to. That'd be cool.
It's I don't know. The weird thing is, why us? Why that specific group of people? To have the same type of interferences, the same type of electronic issues, recording with the same guy, talking about the same shit on different podcasts. What's the point? Why? Why did Tony, who is a very busy guy, huge podcast, got his fingers in all kinds of stuff, documentaries, videos, all kinds of stuff. Why did he put out the invitation to have all these all these guys come out, driving hours and hours to get there, to put together this 4-hour plus podcast, which I honestly did not think anybody would sit through 4 hours, but a lot of people did.
Yeah.
A lot of people listened to it.
It was a great episode. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot to get through, but I mean, it worked, I don't know. It's strange stuff. But I've got an overwhelming feeling that it's not over.
Yeah.
And it still makes me wonder why, what is it about that group of people,
Yeah.
several relative unknowns, in the big picture of nobody.
Super interesting stuff, man.
Yeah. So the one thing that keeps coming up, and has been said multiple times by multiple people, is that it's my voice, both in a figurative and a physical, in a way. Like, yes, I have a voice because I have a podcast. It's got a decent amount of listeners, but my voice is very inviting. And people are comforted by my voice, I've been told.
You've got the coolest podcast voice I've told you that before.
Yeah. So, Justin and Jay from the Cryptids, very likable guys, enjoyable shows to listen to, is it got something to do with our voices, figuratively and physically.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Super interesting, man.
Yeah. I don't think it's over.
No. As a listener, I definitely got the sense that it wasn't over.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to you guys getting together again.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, you got anything else to round this hour out with?
I've had so many experiences. Family-wise, I can tell you some things, strange things.
Yeah.
My daughter done something really strange. So I don't know if it runs in the family. So my daughter's 10 years old now. But when she was 4, we had a really strange experience. My wife and my daughter were driving home from, I don't know if they'd been to school or something like that. They were driving home from something. And this particular area, there's just this big stone wall. And my little girl's looking out the window, and she's 4 years old. And she said, "Mummy, what are those people over there?" And my wife looked, and she said, "There's just a wall there, Amy. There's nothing there. It's just a wall." And she went, "No, I can see people with sheets over their faces." And my wife was like, "This is really weird." So she drove home, and she's told my mother-in-law what's happened. And they're like, "What's that all about? What's that all about?" They've looked into this wall, where this was, and behind the wall was a morgue. Yeah.
Holy crap.
So I don't know how, but my little girl's picked up on that, and that was freaky.
See, I'm firmly of the belief that when we're young, we are much more wide open to those kind of things.
Yeah. Definitely, because you've got you're open to everything when you're that age, aren't you?
Yeah.
This was just crazy how she picked that up.
Wow, that's creepy.
Yeah. So I always tell people that, because there's no explaining that. There's no way she would know. She didn't even know what a morgue was,
Yeah.
So it's very strange. Very strange. But I love it. I love all the crazy.
Yeah. As a child, though, there's an innocence that I don't think they need to, even though we're open at that point, that kind of bothers me. That kids have experiences that, because one, they're too young to understand. They don't have the rational thought to deal with being scared. And sometimes they don't have the knowledge enough to be scared of what they are seeing when they should be scared. So I kind of wish that children didn't have those experiences, but
yeah. And it stays with you forever, as I know from my experience when I was 10.
It definitely does.
Yeah, you can still see it perfectly.
I can close my eyes right now and see the shadow person outside my bedroom window or bedroom door.
Yeah.
I could see the whole. I could absolutely see the whole thing. So yeah, it never leaves you.
Yeah.
Tommy, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Let everybody know again, real quick, where they can find all your stuff.
So, Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky podcast. We're on all the most of the podcast platforms. We're on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. TC Let's Get Freaky podcast. Come say hi. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Eric, for having me. It's been amazing, man. I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. It's been great.
Your show. It's a part of my weekly routine.
I appreciate that.
Great work, man.
I was just listening to your episode with White House, earlier today at work. That was a good show.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
Good show.
And I've actually got this week coming. I don't know when this will be out, but I've got JJ Rose this week.
Nice. Yeah. She said you were one of those people that are just, she absolutely loves my listeners. She said everybody that's reached out to her in any way, shape, or form has just been terrific.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good one.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Eric.
Hope everything goes well there on the other side of the pond. And good luck to you, my friend. I'll let you know when this is going to air. And thanks so much for being with me, man. I know it's wee hours of the morning over there, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an honor.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you, brother.